Australians are like people everywhere. They enjoy the opportunity to celebrate grand occasions. They enjoy pageantry. In 1977, along with all other people in the British Commonwealth, Australians had an opportunity to enjoy and to celebrate just such an occasion, the Queen's Silver Jubilee. The 25 years of Her Majesty's reign have been ones in which we can all share a great pride in what Her Majesty has achieved. To enable as many people as possible throughout Australia to enjoy and participate in the celebrations, the federal government established a Silver Jubilee commemorative organisation to bring some part of the Queen's Silver Jubilee into every corner of Australia. This film is about the exhibition train or mobile museum which has housed 700 years of British history, of British heritage, and a fitting reminder of our common links with the United Kingdom.
It is a unique project. There have been previous occasions when royal treasures have toured abroad, but never so many at once, never so far, and never gathered for an exhibition in a train. In 4.5 months, the exhibition will cross Australia twice, from one side to the other and back again, and will be seen by almost 500,000 people. The formidable task of getting it all ready is achieved in not much more than 6 months. And the man who thought of the idea and made it all happen is Mr. Harry M. Miller, the chairman of the Silver Jubilee organisation.
I was standing on the railway station in the country town near where I live, not as big as this, but a small railway station called Manila, and I thought, what a fantastic idea if we could mount an absolute treasure house of British history on a train and take it to all of the small towns all around the Commonwealth. And I guess at the time it seemed a really audacious idea, something that nobody had ever done anywhere in the world, but finally, with the help of literally hundreds and hundreds of people, we got it together and we finally started a tour with the Royal Silver Jubilee train.
The design of the exhibition is done in London and brilliantly transforms 4 special carriages made available by the New South Wales government. Into the train go exhibits valued at more than $100 million, many of them lent by the Queen herself. The close care of this precious cargo is the responsibility of Alan Stimpson, who has come from London to travel with the train as curator. The exhibition begins where constitutional history begins, with the Magna Carta signed by King John at Runnymede in the year 1215. It was forced on him by his barons in rebellion at the tyranny of royal power, and it's the basis of the personal and political liberty we know today. Also dating from medieval times is this surcoat, or jupon, of the sort that knights used to wear over their armour. This one belonged to the Black Prince, Edward, the warrior son of Edward III, and normally hangs in Canterbury Cathedral. Henry V's sword is usually to be found above his tomb in Westminster Abbey, and is a reminder of his magnificent victory over the French at Agincourt in 1415. A tournament helmet which belonged to Henry VII. It's a grim-looking object, although in its day it would have been gaily decorated with a plume. But it's very heavy and would have been uncomfortable to wear, and it's rather crudely constructed. By comparison, this is a much more finished article. It's a helmet produced about 50 years later in the armouries Henry VIII set up at Greenwich, and it's a remarkable piece of hardware for its time. William Caxton was the first English printer, and this is the only perfect copy existing of one of the first books to come off his press, Aesop's Fables. It was printed in 1484 and is still in a remarkably good state of preservation. Tradition has it that this magnificent shield was presented to Henry VIII by Francis I in 1520 at the Field of the Cloth of Gold, a magnificent Renaissance summit meeting between England and France. It is beautifully damascened and depicts events in the life of Julius Caesar. Normally the shield hangs in Windsor Castle, where it's displayed near Henry VIII's hunting sword and by-knife. Henry's many passionate interests included hunting in the royal parks around London, and these weapons were made for him in 1544, 3 years before his death. One of the most fragile objects in the exhibition is this pair of gloves which were worn by the first Elizabeth before she was Queen and when she was living at Hatfield House during the reign of her father, Henry VIII. The gloves are decorated with glass amber beads sewn onto a silk background and set with sequins and gold wire. They're more than 400 years old. But by far the oldest object in the exhibition is this cameo of the Emperor Claudius. It is thought to have been made about AD 44 and was among many treasures collected by Charles I. The story goes that when the wife of the King's Chancellor was being shown the cameo, she dropped it. It cracked, and that's why it's now bounded by a gold circlet to hold it together. The cameo is now in the Queen's collection. Next to it is one of the shirts in which Charles I took his last steps in Whitehall on a chilly January morning in 1649 on his way to the headsman's axe. It is said that Charles insisted he wear 2 shirts on that fateful day. He didn't want to be seen shivering in the cold air and have the assembled crowd think he was trembling with fear. Among the collection of relics from Lord Nelson's time is this musket ball, which killed him as he stood on the deck of the Victory in 1805. The death mask is a plaster cast taken from a wax impression of Nelson's face after his death at the Battle of Trafalgar. The treasure train attracts large crowds right across Australia. People begin queuing from early morning to see the exhibition, which is divided into 4 periods of British monarchy. The second carriage covers the period from Queen Victoria through to our present Queen, and has been cleverly designed to give the impression of a much wider space. A circlet of orange blossoms made of gold, enamel and porcelain. It was presented by Prince Albert to his beloved wife, Queen Victoria, in the Christmas of 1845. The green fruit on the circlet represent the 5 children the couple had to that date. The dolls were made by Queen Victoria when she was a child. They're composed of papier-mâché heads which have been painted, and Queen Victoria dressed them to represent actresses or, in some cases, members of the royal family. It was Queen Victoria's nature to establish memorials of every kind. From babyhood, her children were painted, photographed and sculpted year in and year out. Even their tiny hands, arms and feet were carved in marble. The exhibit has a rather macabre fascination. Perhaps the most beautiful object in the exhibition is the colonnade egg made by Carl Fabergé around 1905 and given by Tsar Nicholas II to his wife, the Tsarina. The 4 figures around the base of the pedestal represent the 4 daughters of the family. The Cupid at the top represents the first son of their marriage. The egg is covered in a translucent pink enamel and has round it a white enamel band set with diamonds, which is actually a clock. The story is that the Tsarina went to stay with Queen Mary in England because of the troubled times in Russia. Not having taken a great deal of money with her, she gave the colonnade egg to the Queen to pay for her board and lodging. It's now valued at $300,000. Because of the crowd the train attracts at every stop, special arrangements are made for visits by parties of school children. And whenever possible, the curator, Alan Stimpson, gives them details of the exhibits on display.
And the first thing we see are the crown jewels. The first crown is St Edward's crown, based very loosely on the Saxon king's crown from about the year 800, and it's a very heavy crown. So heavy, in fact, that Queen Victoria had a further crown made, the imperial state crown, so that she could feel more comfortable when riding away from Westminster Abbey. The principal feature of the imperial state crown is the Black Prince's ruby, this red stone which is set in the front cross, and below this is one of the stars of Africa. The orb, which represents the world, and above it the cross of the church, also forms part of the royal regalia. Below this we have the vast mace, which is carried before the Queen by the Sergeant-at-Arms. Further along, the robes of the Most Noble Order of the Garter, the highest honour that the Queen can bestow, it's limited to 24 Knights Companion. And perhaps our most popular exhibit, the wedding dress of Princess Anne, certainly amongst our lady visitors. They study the needlework very intently and marvel at the magnificent train. In fact, when she was taken off display in Sydney for 2 or 3 days, due to the model collapsing, some ladies did complain most strongly that they'd come 200 or 300 miles in some cases to see Princess Anne's dress.
I suppose that's what Princess Anne, like Sarah's, whatever her name was.
I think that colour her eyes a bit made them a bit more blue, wouldn't it? Yeah. Blue eyes. She'd look better, wouldn't she? Yeah. Her colour in her eyes.
Yeah. I love the sleeves, always have like those sleeves. Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, that's Princess Anne.
Yes.
Yeah, real lifelike, isn't it?
Gorgeous.
Although it seems like a simple operation, the problems involved in organising the passage of the train across Australia are enormous. First, the coordination of 5 separate railway authorities, as well as the Commonwealth Railways, has to be obtained. Then the special timetables and routings to the 26 exhibit stops arranged. Each state has to provide the exhibition carriages with a special train and crew. And at Port Pirie in South Australia, the gauge of the railway line itself changes for the 2,000 kilometre run across the Nullarbor to Perth. This means the bogies on the exhibition cars have to be replaced. The train is virtually a self-contained community and carries its own staff of 20, including security personnel. They work, eat and sleep aboard the train. It's certainly a different way of seeing Australia, but the days and nights are long and the breaks are few. The manager is John Young, who is responsible for the on-the-spot administration of the whole complex enterprise. At every scheduled stop, the train is met by large crowds, and there are times when it just can't accommodate all the people who want to pay to see the exhibition. For the staff too, living on a train can have a number of inconveniences, especially when it's stationary. The platform at Port Pirie is said to be the longest in the world. It takes 3 hours to dismantle the exhibition, ready for the journey to the next station, and another 3 to set it up again. Every stage of the operation is critically timed. There's not much margin for error.
I would think the main problems have been the coordination of 2 distinct types of activities. Running a travelling museum and in rolling stock, which is not designed to do exactly this. In other words, cater for a bunch of wandering gypsies who are taking a priceless exhibition around in an entirely new way. Personally, well, it's living on a train, sleeping on a train. These are things which we've never done before, and as I say, I wouldn't be up at this time of the morning if it weren't for the fact that I couldn't sleep last night, but it's also coupled with a unique experience of crossing the Nullarbor.
Across the Nullarbor Plain, and the longest stretch of straight line in the world, the train heads for the city of Perth. Organising the tour of an exhibition such as this is to be made suddenly aware of the vastness of Australia. The train will travel roughly the equivalent of 2 crossings of the Atlantic between London and New York, or the distance by air from Sydney and San Francisco. And it will encounter temperatures which will test the limit of the special air conditioning which has to be installed to protect the exhibits. For a while, there is opportunity for relaxation in a schedule which is almost as demanding as any royal tour. But what doesn't relax is the security of the exhibition. Australia doesn't wish to boast the world's biggest train robbery, so a team of Commonwealth police keep a 24-hour watch on this collection from 7 centuries of British history. There's no known penalty for losing royal treasures, but the Tower of London has been mentioned.
Control to base, all clear in car 4, over.
I would like to register my thanks and those of all West Australians for braving the trials of distance to bring this outstanding collection to Perth. Our thanks are also due, of course, to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Back now across the continent. Another town, another briefing for press, radio and television.
Magna Carta through to the present day in 4 sections. The first car is from Magna Carta through to Queen Victoria. Come to Kalgoorlie.
Another official opening. Another late night before yet another packing up job before the journey to the next stop. But it's not such an inflexible schedule that there's no time for the unexpected. At whistle stops across the desert, small groups of Australians are given privileged viewing. It has now been over 4 months since the exhibition was opened by His Royal Highness Prince Charles and sent off on tour. If it visited all the centres which have asked to see it, It'd be on the rails for at least a year, and sadly that's just not possible. Now the train heads for the city of Orange in New South Wales, and the last stop before Sydney. Orange is preparing to give the train a civic reception, and special arrangements are being made to entertain the crowds. Some will travel hundreds of kilometres to queue for hours.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming along to give a welcome to that train. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do like the train, put your hands together for it.
And it's raining here at good, the west will now be clear. The eyebrows fixed and lips get pressed and the mind's all set true. You can hear the clicking of the shears and through the won't make time. You can see it as so many candies on the wooden side. A line of enough tigers, as plain as see we are. I'm up early ringer, hefty loud calls for tar. Tar here, calls one, and quick the carway flies. Sweep those blocks away and never loudly cry. I must have them belly gods and their tongues must do like flies. The eye is the sun and if you're accepting me, you will fly. Our person from our gaffer is there on our side. To share a decent rally boys, it's made of off the sky.
I've been to the Crown Jewels. They're lovely.
I was most impressed with the uniform.
The wedding dress is okay, Princess Anne.
I think everything was very interesting. That big armour, helmet, I thought, how could anybody carry that?
But my husband's been to England, he's seen the real things in their situation in the museums, but I hadn't, so I thought, oh, blow it, I'll wait 4 hours and see them too. It's worth the wait, it is.
Oh yes, I'm a real royalist.
Ready! 1, 2.
We came early. 4 hours, we waited 4 hours to go in.
Yes, 3 hours, 20 minutes.
Was it epic?
Yes, it was. It was wonderful.
Queen Victoria took my eye.
The beautiful crowns.
I enjoyed the whole train. The whole exhibition was marvellous.
I'd never have seen anything like it anywhere, I don't think. Never.
It's like going through our school history again, all the things that we learnt at school. And it's beautiful to see our lovely Queen.
This is one of the things I think we can feel proud that we have a beautiful Queen, one that, well, is a model for everybody. I think it's something beautiful.
Yes, we might be going somewhere different now, but at least we ought to know where we came from.
It's been 4 months.
Too many.
And this is the last night. Let's cut the cake and let's get it over and done with. You ready?
All right, that's
Steps
where you
out.
do, John.
Put
That's
your
where
hand
you
on
do,
it.
John. Just
Put your hand on it. Right through the Fabergé ear. It's a rough old cut. I only hope there isn't a sudden stop, or we'll all be great friends.
The long tour is almost over. It has been a proud achievement for the man responsible for it all, the chairman of the Silver Jubilee organisation, Mr. Harry M. Miller.
We organised a program of something like 300 events in Australia to celebrate the Queen's Silver Jubilee, but nothing we did was quite so successful as the exhibition train. It carried something of the rich history behind today's constitutional monarchy right to the people, and by the way they responded to it, I believe Australians showed their respect and admiration for the Crown and everything that it represents.